Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show live. We're here to chat all things Leeds United with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever, Jason Booker. If you're watching along live, get your likes on the video, get your comments in and get subscribed to the channel and make sure you're doing the same if you're watching us later as well. Yes, we're here to chat all things Leeds United ahead of a huge game against our relegation rivals, Nottingham Forest, at 8 o'clock tonight. We're going to be previewing that, obviously talking about everything and what's happening with the players who are available, not available, and how we're approaching this game. But we're going to kind of wrap up the transfer window. Me and Jade not had a chance to kind of get our final thoughts on everything on that front. We're going to be talking a little bit about how the squad looks and also a couple of bits and pieces that have come out during the week surrounding Leeds as well. Jay, how are we doing, my friend?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Kind of gearing up for tonight a little bit, to be honest. We were just talking about it beforehand, and it's as the game gets closer, I think the severity of it kind of picks up and the importance of it, and we'll get into the must-win quotation and all the rest of that. But the importance of the game, regardless of how you feel about whether it's a must-win or not, isn't lost on anybody. It is a huge, huge game. Kind of feels potentially season-defining, especially when you then run into a set of fixtures of Chelsea away, Villa away, and Man City at home. You know, we could be looking at the next three as being 0 points. Yeah. That's very possible in the Premier League. So, it's spicy. It's a spicy. And obviously the week kind of started with a transfer window ending, which kind of has passed everybody by, really. But, you know, a transfer window in which we only saw 33 Premier League transfers into Premier League clubs. You know, it's not a lot.
No,
not really. You know, it's
quite dead, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the kind of, final deadline day drama we've seen in the past, was it?
The Football League was packed.
Yeah.
Football League was absolutely packed. I mean, we obviously are pretty close to Huddersfield and City in terms of the show, and, you know, we kind of keep his fingers on the pulse just as kind of by proxy within the group that we're chatting. And City and Huddersfield were jam-packed with action and even had deadline day signings themselves. So, but the Premier League, you never see many massive moves. There were a couple of really key transfers within the division, like Mike Gueye and, you know, a couple of others. Sean Larson obviously ended up going to Palace. A couple of others down towards the bottom. But my kind of gut feeling towards all the action that we kind of saw down at the bottom was it was just panic. It was just panic. And we see this every single year. And I mean, spoiler, I'm kind of glad that we didn't get involved in it, if I'm honest. It gives me a lot of reassurance that we're in a decent spot. So, yeah, good week, mate. Overall, pretty content.
Yeah, this is it. And obviously the Strand Larson transfer was the one that was kind of rumbling on. And it was annoying because I knew, deep down that we weren't going to sign him. The likelihood is he was always going to end up at Crystal Palace. But there was one particular tweet from Fabrizio Romano that I kind of clung onto, and it was when he said the Mateta deal looks like it's going to fall through to Milan, and he said it will impact the Strand Larson deal going ahead. So I thought, Fabrizio saying that, that something might happen here. So I was kind of clinging on to that, but obviously Ornstein and a lot of the others were saying it was going to go ahead nonetheless, and it did. And it's just one of those, isn't it? I was kind of, are we going to do anything else? I know there was rumours of maybe a late loan deal or something like that. But I mean, really, you've got to look at it and go, we've strengthened in the fact that we've got Buonanotte in, who I think will certainly, I would guess, it's debatable how much game time he might get, but I think he's a positive upgrade from Jack Harrison. Regardless. I mean, it's it's a no-brainer. Maybe a couple parts of the squad you're looking at going, it's not ideal. I mean, just straight off the bat, I'm kind of looking ahead, and you're thinking, Mecha now. I think we're going for a bit of a period in Mecha where he seems to be picking up knocks quite frequently. Yeah. He seems to be missing spells of games. He's out again for tonight, I believe, and when you're looking at that striker position, you're looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Next after him is Peru. And I feel that's I'm not too comfortable because, I mean, are we expecting DCL every game, 90 minutes going? That's one area where I'm looking at going, I am a little bit concerned. It's like tonight, for example. If DCL is blowing out of his arse, 70th minute. We haven't really got anything we can do on the bench that can kind of. I know Nemecha's not like for like with DCL, but he does some of that physical.
Yeah, he's got qualities on it.
Whereas I feel like if you go to Peru, it's like completely different, and he doesn't give you any of that. So that's one thing I'm a little bit kind of.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, just coming to the Strand Larsen deal to start, I think Romano and journalists in general, they kind of make educated gambles and guesses and put them out there as reality and hope that it sticks. And I think that's what Fabrizio did there. Like, it makes sense that if you don't move on Mateta, you wouldn't sign Strand Larsen. But it appears as if Mateta now might actually take a knee operation, which will then see him out for much of the rest of the season anyway. So it's like he's not there. They're going to sell him in the summer or renegotiate a contract come the time that they've got. So the likelihood is he'll still move and he probably won't even kick another Palace ball or close to. I think the levels of investment in Strand Larsen at nearly 50 million, or I think it worked out at 48 million total, were just too much for a brand new promoted club. I think it's as simple as that, given especially the PSR stretch room in which we've got. I think there was genuine realistic expectations that we could make that signing earlier on in the window. I think Strand Larsen probably and his agent kept his options open for as much of the window as he possibly could. I said to you over a week ago, he will move before the end of the window. I truly believe if Palace had pulled out of the deal, it'd have ended up at Leeds United for 40 million quid. Because Wolves wouldn't have had a choice but to kind of just suck up the extra 5 million that they've lost or whatever it was. There'd have been a deal being able to put together that it'd have then come over. I think ultimately it's come down to Palace were prepared to pay that little bit extra. Leeds were not. So the one option that Strand Larsen had was Palace. If they were both prepared to pay, then he'd have had an option to make. And we'd have standed a good chance of making that deal happen, I think, because I think the project at Leeds makes probably a little bit more sense than the one at Palace right now. Yeah. Given the momentum, given Glasner's situation, given what's happened at Palace over the last year. So I think we'd have been in with a fair chance. But I'm okay with the club saying, no, we're not spending that money. What really irritates me, if I'm honest, is the fan base reaction to, well, we had 40 million to spend for Strand Larsen. Why didn't we just have a backup and go out and spend it on X player? The reality is that it was, and I believe this, maybe say that I'm, happy clapper or whatever, I don't know, but the club saw an opportunity to sign a player that was beyond where we were in our progression. Yeah. Strand Larsen quality would be 2 or 3 seasons of Premier League football, not halfway through season 1. We saw an opportunity given the landscape of the Premier League, the landscape of Wolves and the whole situation. And that's why Palace have got in over Villa, Newcastle and some of the other ones that he probably would have been able to make a move. We've seen it in the summer. He had the Newcastle move there. So yeah, I'm not against the fact that we haven't gone and then signed somebody else as a make-weight that would have then restricted us more in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that people were saying, right, go get your next target. It was so bleeding obvious that this was a market opportunity. All the reports were saying that, like you've mentioned, this was a special target who fit a certain criteria. It was an opportunity to kind of get someone in that you wouldn't expect to be able to get in. It wasn't, right, we move on to target 2 or target 3 or target 4. It was so obvious that we weren't going to do that.
I also think as well, Browney, I think if we'd have not been involved in the potential for this deal, I think Palace would have had a free run at him and got him 40 million quid as well.
Yeah.
I think we kind of have driven up the price being interested because there wouldn't have been that many clubs prepared to pay 40 to 50 million for Strand Larsen in January. They just wouldn't. So, I actually think, I think we've probably played a part in Wolves being able to get that fee.
Yeah. And to be fair, Palace will be hoping he hits the ground running because
they need him to.
They're in big trouble. I mean, like you say, Mateta with his knee. But, Larsen's only scored one goal this season in a struggling team, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Did you watch Palace Forrest?
I think I caught a bit of it, yeah. Yes, I did, yeah.
Forrest,
wasn't it?
Yeah. Forrest dominated the opening spell of the game. There could have been 2 or 3 in front. Palace did have a couple of moments. But then, Nico Williams makes the most bizarre decision that you'll ever see to handle the ball on the line. They go down to 10 men and you expect Palace, after they equalise from the penalty, to go ahead and dominate the game. They didn't. If anything, Forest were by far the better team. draw probably was the best result for us overall. I think I kind of wanted the drama of one way or the other. But I genuinely think Palace are in a whole host of trouble, and I don't think Strand Larsen changes that, to be honest.
No, it seems like they've just got the morale's being ripped out of them.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a sinking ship at the moment, and pretty desperate, I think, spending 50 million on a player like that.
Really desperate.
What about in kind of points in terms of the if we look at our striker situation in the squad, we can look at other areas after. But I mean, do you have any concerns about the depth there, or the type of depth we've got? If Metcher, kind of continues to kind of have niggles and miss 2 or 3 games kind of here and there.
I mean, you made the point that Pirot would be the replacement for Calvert-Lewin. I don't think he is. I think it'd be Okafor. I don't like, if we're only playing one up there, I think it will be Calvert-Lewin, Metcher, Okafor, then Pirot. I don't see Pirot starting another game for Leeds, if I'm honest. Maybe in the
options. Is it Okafor or Pirot? I mean, oh my God, I dread to think.
No, it's not. It's not, Browney. But again, we only kind of we get kind of sucked into this Leeds bubble, and the third or fourth choice for most teams is also not that great.
Yeah.
We made the point. I know Sunderland have sent him back. Matt Gueye, the young striker from Chelsea, went back to Chelsea. He's their third striker at Chelsea. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just recruit forever based on the fact that somebody might get injured. We've had this conversation before. We had it last January. And there is a couple of holes. I know Skip's mentioned left back. You could definitely see that kind of position being of a concern because we've only got one out and out proper left-footed left back. But I also recognise the club's position in that we have got backup options that can fill roles and gaps in them areas should they need to, and without any injuries or suspensions. Gabby Goodmanson will play every minute of every game. So how do you recruit somebody to come alongside that? It's really, really tricky. That's where the academy comes into it. You need young players coming through that are really pushing the first teamers for genuine game time. And unfortunately, we don't really have that. But it then becomes difficult to recruit for.
No, we'll just get Skips commenting. Thank you for that, mate. Morning. I would have liked strengthening an LB position, but ultimately, if we stay up, 49ers deserve the credit. But if we go down, then it's their fault. I mean, this is the thing. It's so difficult because you do have to take kind of best gambles, don't you? You have to kind of look at and roll the dice somewhat. When you can't spend unlimited amounts of money, there's going to be areas where you have to. I mean, if we'd have spent heavily in January last year, like a lot of people were calling for, we might have been hamstrung. We'd have been like Burnley, now where we can't make those improvements we need. We've tied up deals to, bang average championship players. You're
so right. You're so right, because instead of signing Anton Stark, would have made do with Joe Rothwell.
Yes.
Like, can you imagine how different we would have looked? Instead of signing Metcher, I'm not going to say Calvert-Lewin because I think we'd have gone and signed a statement striker. But instead of signing Metcher, we'd have kept Matteo Joseph or Joe Gelhardt. And that is the difference, and that is what Burnley are experiencing. So it's easy to kind of say it when it's not your money and you've not got this kind of plan to have to put out there. And they are looking at the summer at the minute and they're saying, right, we've got a squad that we think is capable of getting X amount of points on the board. We don't think West Ham will be able to get that X amount of points. From this position, it makes a better educated gamble to go with what we've got and then spend big on 3 positions in the summer, rather than spending big now on, because people then say, well, what about Strand Larsen? Yeah, but Strand Larsen would have then been one of them big ones from the summer. Yeah. That would have been the only difference. Because in the summer, I fully expect Calvert-Lewin to stay, Metcher to move, Okafor to either play on the wing out and out or move, and Pirot to leave. So you're then going to need a second striker that is of that degree. If we'd have signed Strand Larsen in this window, we wouldn't have needed to sign one in the summer. So I think that's where the club are at. It's a real fine line, because season 2 is arguably harder to stay up than season 1. So if we do stay up this season, we need to make sure that we have the pool of resources to go again in the summer to stay up next season. Because it's all well and good staying up this season. If you then go down next season, it means nothing. You might as well go down this season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I personally, not to get too fired, I think we're going to have problems with outgoings in the summer. That would be my position where I look at it. I'm worried about the churn. I don't think it's going to be easy for Leeds to churn in the summer. Like you say, if they've kind of eyed up 3, because fans are expecting 7 and 8 shiny new toys. It's just not gonna happen in year 2. I guess I watched Burnley the other night against Sunderland. I mean, Burnley, Jesus wept. I mean, they were absolutely atrocious, and it's so vital that we're able to stay up and try and build, because I think they're in a position, Burnley, where they are a true yo-yo team now. I mean, it's 3 relegations, 3 promotions, or whatever it is, and you're just caught in no man's land, really, because you're recruiting for the Championship, then you change it, you're recruiting for the Premier League, then you're changing it, you're recruiting for the Champ. It's an absolute minefield, I think. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to touch that, because I think you do end up with teams that look like Burnley, where it's just they can't get themselves going. And it's so vital we stay up this season, I think.
And again, Browney, over 46 games last season, there was no difference between us and Burnley.
No, exactly.
We are so keen to be, this is crap and that's not good enough and we should have done more. And the difference between Leeds and Burnley this year, even though they beat us at Turf Moor, unfortunately, but the difference between us in terms of resilience and quality and actually bridging that gap to Premier League quality is absolutely massive. It's not even like tangibly close. We're 11 points in front of them right now. It should be a lot more than that, really. The way that the teams look when they're out on the pitch is chalk and cheese. And that's not really even down to the manager, I don't think. I don't think that's down to Scott Parker and Daniel Farke and a difference between the two. I don't really like Scott Parker, but I actually think he has grown. I think, what he was able to achieve defensively last season at Championship level, albeit, was very, very, very impressive. Very impressive, to be that kind of record breaker, defensive clean sheets, all the rest of it was excellent. But then the quality that he's got at his disposal this season is just miles off. You look at the striker situation. They've got Zaya Fleming up front. Their best player this season has been Jadon Anthony. It's nuts, really, when you think about it. I mean, Kyle Walker, I think, made a lot of sense. It was very experienced signing. I'd probably like to see him come in. That's the kind of signing I think we missed. But that aside, they just don't have anything. And probably next season, they'll probably come straight back up. They'll keep enough, Yeah,
absolutely. And this is the thing. I mean, we've acquired 26 points. We're out of the relegation spots by 6 points. Looking at the squads, looking at the players and everything, I just think, what Farke's achieved and what Farke's got from these players and the level and the detail. I mean, Jay, just let me pose this question to you. If we'd have been sat at the start of this Premier League season and you'd have said your main kind of creative spark in your team, the one who's going to make things happen, is going to be Brendan Aronson, I would have gone, oh my God, did we finish bottom? I would have been gobsmacked. If you'd have told me Gruev would have been starting. I look at our attacking kind of options, and you touched on it ages ago. When we were going through the bad run, you said you were sick of watching our wingers struggle. And I really feel like we have just not got the quality. We have just not got the quality nowhere near. I look at Okafor and Nonto. I know Dan James, we haven't seen much, but we know kind of where he's at. Brendan, we know Brendan's not, elite. And yet somehow we're competitive and we're making things happen. I think we'll look back. I think if we stay up, I think we'll look back and look at the job Farke's done, and really, I hope history's kind to him on what he's achieved with his tools and his resources. I mean, there was the guy who scored for Sunderland. Oh, his name, Taube. Yeah. And he cuts it off the wing and he smacks this ball. It's absolute wonder goal. We have nobody who can do that. We don't have one. I mean, look at Okafor when he gets the ball. Look what he does. The final product. We don't have anyone who can do that.
Browney, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the more and more I think of the achievements of the manager this season and what he's been able to extract from what he's got, it's sensational. It really is. I've said it all season. I think people really get irritated with me saying it, and it's only because it's what I see to be the reality. This team is a bottom 5 side. I would argue on paper, regardless of the form and the points that we've picked up, where we are in the table right now, I would argue that this team is still a bottom 3 side. I think we're overachieving. I genuinely think that I've said it from when we beat West Ham. I remember us having the back and forward in the group, and Downsy and Chris were like, nah, the Leeds team's better than the West Ham. The West Ham team, on paper, if you have a look at the individuals, if you were to bring them into our side, I think Daniel Farke would get better. I think with Elland Road and the feeling and everything around Leeds at the minute, I think that we would see that Leeds United team finish 12th or 11th, something like that. Jared Bowen, Somerville, you know, the strikers that they've now got. When they had Paqueta, you know, like at the back, they've got some wishy-washes, but I think they could get more out of some of them. Tobido's decent. It's nuts to me that people think that, and I like these players, people can't separate out the, like, me being derogatory towards them as then not enjoying them and liking them as players. I love these players. I really love this team, and they have been able to achieve so much together, given the limited quality that they've got. Very similar to the Bielsa team. Very similar. You know, they're playing way beyond themselves, but players like Jadon Bogle, players like Joe Rodon, who I do think can go on, but Joe Rodon's he's not a kid, you know. Gabby's come into it really well, but then I look at the likes of Gruev. Anton Stack's gone into it really well. You know, Calvert-Lewin, nobody really would have expected the return from Calvert-Lewin this season. And, you know, even then the fringe players, Dan James, you know, and some of the others that are Tanaka's probably been fringe this season, Gruev. I could go on and on and on. This team is a bottom three quality side, but together, they are capable of getting the points on the board to see us finish 4th or 5th bottom. And Daniel Farke is the reason for that. You know, these same people that are so critical of Daniel Farke, oh, he's playing Gruev, oh, he's doing this, oh, he's doing... They are the players that he's got to pick. That's what he's got. They're the options, Brownie. What's he going to do?
Sorry. No, I could not agree more. And it was funny because I heard Liam Rosenior speaking after the Arsenal-Chelsea Carabao Cup, and, you know, why didn't you attack more? And we've heard similar criticisms towards Farke in games. And Rosenior said, look, you know, if I go out all attack and Arsenal 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes, what good is that? And you know, even when we beat Fulham, fans were saying, why didn't we attack from the start? And it's like, I'm sorry, we won the game. It was a perfect game plan. Game plan. You know, against Arsenal at the weekend, you're playing Arsenal. And listen, first 25 minutes we were doing our thing. We were doing the Leeds thing that we've done all season, and unfortunately they've just got a lot of quality, and it happened. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I think he's been absolutely superb.
You're spot on. And then I was just going to say this with the comment that Skip put earlier, so I'll just bring it back up again. If we say up, it's the 49ers deserve credit. If we go down, they're at fault. I don't think it's as black and white as that, because you're basically talking about one goal. Like, you could go down or stay up based on one goal. And then for me, do you get what I mean? That's how tight it can be. So to kind of limit it to just them and them alone isn't fair. There's so much else that's attached to that. And the biggest thing is the gap between Premier League and Championship. Yeah. We are, if we were Leicester, Ipswich or Southampton from last season right now, we'd all be saying, what an unbelievable job they've done to bridge that gap. But because it's us, because the fan base are so expectant, because it's Leeds United and the club size and all the rest of it, we're like, they're just doing what's expected. Like, you know, and if we go down, it's all the 49ers' fault and we should just blow it up. And this recruitment has still been, given the PSL limits that they had to work with, very, very good.
Absolutely. Yeah, but absolutely. I mean, Jay, it's a rigged league. The Premier League is rigged. You've got your big six, whatever, who can spend hundreds of millions of pounds every year, unfettered, or, you know, there's no restrictions, no limits, because they've got kind of this generational prestige and income and, you know, all the reasons that protect them. You're getting teams coming up from the Championship then who've got, all right, okay, how do we even bridge the gap to, never mind Liverpool, Arsenal and Manchester City, we've got to bridge the gap to Brentford and Brighton, who've been in the Premier League for years and have invested and invested and invested. We've got to catch them up. So I think, you know, I think it's a miracle. Miracle might be too strong, but for us to be competing like we are, we're giving the best that we can give at the minute. Sunderland, like we've mentioned many times, came from a point of view where they could invest massively. luckily, the way it's worked out for them, PSR-wise, is they had more scope for that, funnily enough. And they got a big sale in Bellingham in the summer. Whereas, we made our big sales the year before. So, look, you're really up against it in the Premier League. You really are. It's rigged.
I agree. And let's just take a minute to kind of acknowledge what's happened this week in the Championship, because I've mentioned it in the group quite a lot over the last couple of days. And the more I think about it, the more it winds me up. Leicester have just been deducted 6 points for cheating in the season that we stayed down in the Championship. So if they'd have not cheated or been punished, not retrospectively and at the time, because it's nonsense that they can break a rule and then get a punishment for it 2 years later, in my opinion.
Yes.
Right? Because I've got a season in the Premier League and then this season, right? If we'd have gone up that season and Leicester had not cheated, not signed Harry Winks on 80 grand a week or whatever it was, and some of the other big signers, we'd have kept Jorginho Rutter, we'd have kept Chris Somerville, and we'd have kept Archie Gray. And we'd have had a situation in the Premier League on the bouncing straight back, we would have been so much stronger.
Yeah,
the PSR situation would have been so much healthier. Not only that, but we've also been done by Everton and Forest, who both got deductions, were both incapable of putting an appeal together where they only got 2 points instead of whatever it was. I think it was 7 for Everton originally. Yeah. And we went down as a consequence of that and them cheating. So I just think when you think of the kind of closed book that they're trying to make the Premier League, and you're talking about it being rigged and everything that we've had to push against, bear in mind during that time we've also had transition from Marcelo Bielsa and a transition from ownership, which is huge. It's not easy to do that and change everything behind the scenes. We've lost the whole head of recruitment side when Angus Kinnear and
Nick Hammond
left. You know what I mean? Like, we've had to navigate a lot. And that's all well then bearing in mind that Daniel Farke is still managing a juggernaut like Leeds United, in which many managers that have been super successful over the years have come and failed. Neil Warnock, etc., all the rest of them. He's managed to navigate all that, loan clauses and it's a massive job. Massive job.
I think you sum it up brilliantly. And I think when you look at everything that's gone on and the storms that have had to be navigated, I mean, and Farke has basically delivered on everything that was required. And look, one tight game playoff final at Wembley, you're on wrong side of it. It's a kick of a ball here, there. It's one goal in the final, and and he had to come back after player sales. He had to go again, gets us up. We're competitive in the Premier League. It just really feels like we're at max. We're maxing out at the minute, and I think fans calling for Tanaka and Nonto to start games like it's a miracle fix. It's not going to be the fix that they think it is. I mean, like Tommy's saying here, I mean, surely we can't play defensively tonight, especially here at Elland Road, and I don't think he will. I mean, look, you've got to be really, really careful. Like, I think it's too simplistic to think, we just got to attack. They've got Morgan Gibbs-White. I mean, have you seen this guy? He's lethal. He's absolutely lethal. He's brilliant. If you give him space and time, you're screwed. Counter-attacking, it's Daesh. I mean, it's not going to be easy.
No, I mean, Elliot Anderson's one of the best midfielders in the league. I had this conversation. I mean, I find it bizarre. So somebody was trying to say to me that the game Anton Stack missing wouldn't be that big of a miss, and I was like, what? Like, he's the most creative centre midfielder in the league, playing for Leeds United, who are fifth bottom, and he has got one of the highest percentiles of ball recoveries against two of the best midfielders in the division. They're two best players.
It's massive.
It's a massive, massive miss. I mean, we will obviously combat it and we'll deal with it in the way I'm sure that whoever comes in, nobody's let us down this season, really. I've got my issues with Tanaka, but if he comes in tonight, he'll I'm sure have a good game, and I hope he does. But yeah, this is not an easy game tonight. It's not an easy game at all. I personally think Sunderland at home, Brighton at home, Brentford at home, Burnley at home would certainly be easier. I think we've got a chunk of much easier home games after this run of 4 that we've got than this game. I think this is really tricky. They've got so much that can hurt us. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We can't just send it. And Daniel Farke's system, as whether at Championship or Premier League level, has always kind of ran a similar look. First 15, 20 minutes, we go at them. We really try and sink them early, especially at Elland Road. Try and get a goal or two. And then for the rest of the game, we will contain it if we can. If we don't score in the first 15, 20 minutes, we will take them late, like we did against Fulham, and we will look to sink them. Elland Road will pull the ball in the back of the net late on in the game, but there is no point, as Liam Rossini says there, being completely out of the game because you've been counted on twice by, I mean, I know Hudson-Odoi is out tonight, but, you know, whoever is rapidly going up the other end of the pitch. They've got a very good marksman in Jesus up front. He's a top player, really like him. You know, they've just got so much that can hurt you. They can hurt you down the wings. In both fullbacks, Aina, and they've signed the other lad, Nico Williams is probably where he is out. They signed that Luca Metz, didn't they, left back. I don't know if he's going to start, but you know they've got so much quality, so we can't overlook this at all.
No. And I was watching a TikTok came up, and it was some, I don't know, random. And it was picking, you got to pick your starting 11, Leeds versus Forest. Which player are you taking from each team? And it was like Leeds got 2 players in the 11. Do you know what I mean? It's like Leeds got 2 players. The rest of them, the guy picked Forest players, and you would. I mean, you. I
think it's close. I think it's probably between 2 and 4. I'd say Ampadu would go in there behind Morgan Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson. I'd say Gabby would probably come in at left back for me over Nico Williams. I think Gabby's quality. I'd say Calvert-Lewin probably, it depends on the formation, but I'd say Calvert-Lewin probably over Jesus, but I quite like him. And there were one other, maybe Stack. But where do you play Stack? You don't play Stack over Morgan Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson, do you? So it's tricky. Murillo, his quality. The big Eastern European Milinkovic is quality. Aina's really good. As much as we like Bogle, Aina's very, very good. The wingers are by far better than ours. So you're talking at least, I would say, 7 or 8.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Stack one, I've got to admit, the Stack one concerns me because I feel like Stack is the only central midfielder we have who can do both facets of the game really well and to a really good level. So he's great defensively. You know, the kilometres he covers, really impressive, but he's got genuine quality on the ball. My concern when he's not there is Gruev on the ball, limited. Obviously, Ampadu has his moments, but, you know, he's in a deeper position. And then, you know, if you look at Longstaff, you know, he's far more limited than Stack. And Tanaka is, you know, we've seen what Tanaka's been like this season. Now, the question is, Jay, it's probably going to be Longstaff or Tanaka. Who would you be putting in that thing? Because I think Gruev and Ampadu will start. But who for you is going to be that third man in the middle? Because I see it both ways. I look at Longstaff and I see reliability. I see kilometres. I see Premier League experience. But I see very limited creativity on that front. And, you know, he's striking on goal, all that kind of stuff. Tanaka, I think, is a bigger risk from a defensive point of view. You know, just those little moments, those lapses of concentration, the little details. But like the Chelsea goal, Liverpool goal, he's got special moments in him that might win you a game, might turn you a game. So I'm really kind of torn between who I'd go for to make that midfield up.
Do you not think there's any chance that he goes back to the 2 up front tonight? Do you think he'll play Brendan alongside DCL? Because I'm a bit stuck with it myself, and I'm not sure what the right answer is. I'm literally firing it back to you as a question, because the answer could be very different. Because if Okafor plays up front with Calvert-Lewin, Brendan will probably be the third man in the midfield alongside Gruev and Ampadu.
I wouldn't mind that, actually.
I wouldn't mind that myself either.
I wouldn't mind that, because then I think you've got a nice blend of Ampadu's a kind of almost like a box to box. You know, he's everywhere. Gruev's that defence in it, but then Aronson's the one who can progress the ball and do that bit. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, maybe
you need Okafor to come and cover the left wing if we are going to go into like a 5-4-1 when we're out of possession, which he can do. We have seen him do that. He's not as good at it as Brendan is, but no. I think I have to kind of rub my head when I say this, but I saw a very, very, very big Leeds United content creator the other day call for somebody that I seen the Twitter numpties call for Buonanotte to start up front in this game alongside Calvert-Lewin. And I'm just like, what planet are you on? What are you watching and what planet are you on? So to even mention it, the reason that you're mentioning it is because you know Daniel Farke won't do it. That's why. because it then makes it edgy and controversial and conversational. And I get it, right? It gets engagement, cool, right? You do you. But the reality of that call is so stupid, in my opinion, in my very humble, respectful opinion. We've not seen anywhere near enough from Buonanotte to say that he should be picked in any side right now, let alone against Nottingham Forest in our biggest game of the season so far. In what world does that make sense?
No, it's absolutely bonkers. I did see, I can't remember if it was someone tweeted it or it was on a video from a content creator, and it was like their starting 11, and it was like Brendan was nowhere to be seen. I'm like, what? You're dropping Harrington? What? Like,
he's not.
What?
He's been our best player since the turn of the year.
He absolutely has. He is.
I've seen people call him for 3-4-3. So playing 3 at the back, the normal 2, it'd be probably Ampadu and Stack in the midfield with then Buonanotte, Brendan, and Calvert-Lewin. Like, again, you're just leaving us so open. It's so top heavy. You know, you'd have to expect Brendan to be just breaking his nuts either way to try and cover the spaces, because if you're then playing the fullbacks higher, you're leaving massive gaps in the wing-back areas, and not to mention the midfield. So I think people they play FM or they play FIFA and they have an idea of what they think it looks like, and it just doesn't play out like that on the pitch. I get the fact that we don't want to be too defensive either. But that isn't always down to the personnel. It's down to the ethos and the mentality around the way that you get sent out. We've seen this team go at teams this season. We saw it against Chelsea as an example. I think when this team have got a bit of breathing space to the bottom 3, I think we've always gone at it. I really do. Yeah, people said that we were too defensive against Arsenal. Like, what do you want them to do?
It's staggering. It really is. Honestly, I can't. It blows my mind. It really does. I mean, Buonanotte, I think he is probably, if he's got any chance of finding more game time and getting to a starting it, he needs something to happen from it. I mean, how, in your opinion, Jay, how hard is it for a loan player to come in a January transfer window and make that impact and then get a starting spot? I mean, I can't think of it happening too much, but I mean, that is a really difficult place to be as a player, because you're almost could be guilty then of trying to do too much. You come on for your 5 minutes, and I think we might have seen that a little bit from him already, to be perfectly honest. To take 8 players on, do you know what I mean? It's like, no, just keep it chill. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, look, players like Nonto, who've just been on the fringes all season, and they come on for a bit of game time, and I feel for them, because they need that moment, don't they? They need something to happen for them that just makes the manager go, oh, actually, yeah, we can trust this guy. We can maybe give him a little bit more game time. But it's difficult, isn't it, coming in January transfer window to try and do it. I think, like you say, people expecting him to start, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not. Definitely not in this game. It's way too soon. I agree with you. He needs to come on and settle into the system and, the team in a certain way that then shows Daniel Farke is ready to start games. It's extremely difficult to come in January into a settled side that have been together. A lot of them have been together a long time now. A lot of the signings that we've made are a bit more experienced than him. He's still quite a young lad. Comes in, again, it's not the kind of position, isn't the middle of the midfield where you can kind of just have a little bit of an impact in it. Like, you're a huge cog in that midfield, a massive, massive part of it. It's really difficult to impose yourself in the right way. I think, the lack of game time that he's had is going to have played a massive part. Who knows what he was kind of experiencing at Chelsea. They've been through a bit of an unrest this season anyway. We all said it were a bizarre signing. I don't really know what Chelsea were really doing with it. I don't know what Brighton were doing more than Chelsea in terms of allowing that to be his progression. Because if he'd have started the season at Leeds, there's a fair chance he'd have been a mainstay. He'd have been a big part. Who knows what the formation would have looked like? Because I personally think he's very much best in the 4-2-3-1 as the 10. But we've then gone away to playing a 3-5-2 thereafter. Where does he fit in within that? It's a tricky one. It's a really, really, really tricky one for him. Just coming back to your previous question, I know we kind of went down a different rabbit hole with it, but if Brendan plays alongside Calvert-Lewin, I think it'll be Longstaff over Tanaka, mainly because of the physicality, experience. He's been there and done these kind of games, and he is a steady pair of boots. I'm not going to say pair of hands, but it's a steady pair of boots, right? Whereas, and I love Tanaka, I do, but we've seen every bit of reason why he's not played at the top level before this season. We've seen it. And we've seen the reason why he's not gone for big fees, because technically he's class and he's a level above the Championship. He's far too good for the Championship. But when it comes to Premier League level and not making them mistakes and the mentality and the concentration, he's not there yet. Hopefully he gets there, but he's not there yet.
No. Speaking of a steady pair of gloves, interesting debate. It was funny. I don't know if you saw the training video that the club released yesterday, and there was a heavy focus on the goalkeepers in that. It showed a goalkeeper drilling. It's mad to see 4 goalkeepers, they could have their own little 5-a-side team nearly. But you saw a lot of Perry. There was a lot. I mean, obviously you can't glean too much from these videos, but a lot of Perry, a lot of Cairns. Darlow pops up for like 1 split second. Meslier makes an appearance. We see Elland there still kind of, kicking the balls in. And actually, he starts the video. The first person you see on the video is Meslier. And I was like, is that some kind of cryptic clue, out of nowhere? Elland Meslier starts the game.
There's no way Meslier.
What do you think he'll do goalkeeper-wise? Darlow didn't have the best game against Arsenal, I think. I touched on it last week. I think we're starting to see kind of that backup goalkeeper vibes are coming out. Do you think it gives another roll of the dice to Perry? Obviously, there were big comments from Farke seemed to indicate about wanting to maybe even sign a new goalkeeper from what he would seem to be saying. But a lot of big reports coming out that Leeds are fed up with Perry as well. They're not impressed by him, and that's going to be one of the positions that they go big on in the summer. But for tonight's game, what would you be doing with that one, do you think, or what do you think he will do?
I would be shocked if Perry doesn't come back in, personally, after the performance that Darlow put in. And we've seen this before, and, me and you have done this to death, haven't we, with regards to, the backup goalkeeper and the mentality around them and the reason why they're not first-team goalkeepers. And that's Darlow's position at this point in his career. He's never been really a top goalkeeper. Funny, I was watching I put it in the group the other day, the 5-2 result at Elland Road when Leeds beat Newcastle 5-2 under Bielsa. And Darlow was the keeper that day. I don't know if Browney's frozen. I think. Are you there, Brownie? Yeah, I think he'll be on his way back. Darlow was actually the goalkeeper that day, and there's so much that he could have done in different parts of the game that he just didn't. And he's a backup goalkeeper. It's as simple as that. He's a backup goalkeeper, and Lucas Perry is a first choice goalkeeper. He's used to starting games. Are you back, Brownie?
I'm back.
Yeah, you've got a bit of a lag on.
It completely went, and then I was like, I wonder if, is it me? It's definitely
me. It was you. It was you. I think he has to come back in. I think he's more commanding. I think he's more physical. I still think there's a goalkeeper in there. There's definitely a disconnect. We said this last week between what Farke wanted and what he got. But some of that is on Daniel Farke. I'm very much in staunch defence of him most of the time, but if you don't want Lucas Perry, you don't allow the club to sign Lucas Perry, and you tell them to go back out and find someone else. It's as simple as that. If you don't trust him, that's it. If Karl Darlow starts again tonight, it would really alarm me how far Lucas Perry is away from then starting games again. How can you bomb him out so quickly when we were so keen to defend Elland Meslier a year ago? It makes no sense to me. The goalkeeper situation at Leeds is something that just seems to have plagued us forever now. So certainly a long time. It seemed like a long time ago since Elland was coming in and doing his thing. Perry has to come back in. For me, in terms of what I would do, and I think Daniel Farke will do that as well. I think.
Yeah. I wonder what the message would be to Perry as well. If you're Farke, you'd probably go, look, this is your chance now. Good performance, get it right. You've got till the end of the season, and look, there's still a future there for you. But it's a lot of pressure. I mean, I do feel sympathy with the goalkeepers, because I think if you're Lucas Perry and you come back into that game tonight, you can imagine what the crowd are going to be like when he's winding up for a kick, the first corner kick that comes in. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
It's tricky for a Leeds goalkeeper as well, because this sounds crazy, but against most teams, we don't concede that many chances. So they don't have that much to do. Yeah. We've seen this in the Premier League. I mean, it existed a lot in the Championship, but it certainly still exists in the Premier League outside of Arsenal. We actually give away very few chances, so they don't have a lot to do. That's why, like an Aaron Ramsdale or whatever would never have been the good option for me, because his concentration levels when he's out of the game are non-existent. He's actually a very good goalkeeper when he's got loads to do. That's why he got exposed so badly at Arsenal, because he didn't have a lot to do, and every time they did, he wasn't really in the right space of mind to deal with it. So yeah, I still don't. I've not seen anything from Lucas Perry this season where I've been that alarmed to the point where I think I need to bring Cardallo in. And the biggest, I think, difference is I actually think Lucas Perry's kicking is far better. I've mentioned it a few more times. He's so much grief about it. But in terms of the kicking that's actually of benefit to Calvert-Lewin, it comes from Perry. It doesn't come from Darlow. Darlow's are too flat. And it doesn't allow Calvert-Lewin to actually do his thing. So, yeah, Perry for me is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I would like to see him be given another chance, I think, and look, try and do this, because he came in with a good reputation, and I feel like with Perry, the highs are higher than Darlow. I feel like he's made some unbelievable saves. My biggest concern with him is how he positions himself and his speed coming out to the ball. That stuff really concerns me. But
it's his depth perception.
They're awful. I can't believe
I talk about it with our lad all the time, with Oliver, because he missed the years from 10 to 14 in being a goalkeeper. He played outfield. And it's like his brain hasn't then programmed in that depth perception. So he doesn't know when to come and when to stay. And he gets it wrong a lot. Like, his shot stopping is very good, but it's like he's not learned how to write.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's trying to then learn it when his brain's not actually ready to learn it. It's gone past that point. And that's what it looks like with Lucas Perry sometimes. Like, when you see his starting position seems fine, but it's coming over and he's like, right, okay, that striker's running towards me and the ball's coming at this pace. I don't know whether I'm going to get there or not. And you'd think that most top-level goalkeepers would have that.
Yeah. Isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to throw Solomon's comment up. Thank you very much for that, mate. I can see the game this evening being a bit boring. Both sides don't want to lose. Guys, if you can smash a like on the video as well, please, that would be much appreciated. Just a couple other bits and pieces I want to get to as well, Jay, before we kind of return back to looking at tonight's game. Talking of recruitment, obviously we had a little chat earlier about it, and where is the squad strength? There was the Athletics alternative Premier League table. I like flashing these up, and Leeds are top for summer signings impact on goals. So 84.6% of our goals have involved new signings, which obviously you can imagine Sunderland make the top 5 as well, which is no surprise. But that's a pretty good indication in terms of the job the recruitment team did and how we would have really struggled if we didn't manage to do that. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin, Metcher contributing, I think it's Calvert-Lewin on 9 now and Metcher's on 4 or 5. So you're into double figures there. Yeah, Longstaff's grabbed a goal. Stacks goals. So, that shows again kind of the recruitment team identifying, players that could make an impact and have. They've come in and plundered the goals we need.
Yeah, I mean, again, so much has been made around the recruitment. The recruitment has been good, given the volume that we had to work with, the PSR limits, and as you said earlier, spot on in the outgoings are so difficult.
Yeah.
A year before we sold all our sellable assets. That's the truth. We sold them all. And then this season, really, you could argue, just off face value alone, Joel Perreault probably could have fetched 20 million if you'd have farmed him out in the summer.
Yeah.
That'd have been it. And the PSR limit on that wouldn't have been a lot, because we signed him for 15 to 18 million, I think it was. So, you are looking few and far between Pascal Struijk, maybe. Joe Rodon, maybe. Ethan Ampadu in the summer would have probably commanded 20 million. I think because he's only got a year left on his deal, I think you're going to struggle to even get more than 25 now, even though he's had a great season. So this squad has got some serious issues when it comes to then where the income then comes. That's why the signings make so much sense. Yeah. The club made that abundantly clear. Jacobiol, Anton Stack, especially them two. Noah Okafor, I'd say I'd put into this kind of brand as well. Gabby Goodmanson is another massive one. One of them, probably one of them three, excluding Okafor because he's not had a good season, one of them three will probably have to leave in the summer. Yeah. They probably will, to kind of then be able to help rebuild the squad. If you sign Anton Stack for 20 million, I think it was, and get 40, it can go a long way to then contributing because because of amortization, you can then separate £40 million signing over a 5-year deal. When you sell a player and you've bought him for 20, they've used a year of the contract, that's brought it down to 15 million that's left on the books, and you sell them for 40, that's 25 million readies that go straight into the PSR pot. So you're basically signing yourself for £25 million players almost, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the way that the figures work. So I think that there'll be a big exit of somebody that we would prefer to keep if we stay up.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because I think the outgoings is a massive headache, and I'm a little bit worried about how we're going to churn the squad, to be honest. Now, this might be an interesting one as well, one to watch out for as well. I thought this was pretty interesting that I saw today. Highest XG without scoring in the league. It's our very own Pascal Struijk.
He's had square head this year. I've been really complimentary. I've been really complimentary of him this season because I think he has defensively improved massively. But yeah, in the opposition box, he used to be such a threat. That used to be his best attribute. I used to say, like, I remember when we brought him on against Sunderland at home and he scored both goals. Like, and we brought him on a centre back and ended up scoring both goals. But this season, in front of goal, he's been awful. He has actually been awful.
He's had some unbelievable. I'm talking 6-yard box, nobody around him, and he just plants it over the by like that. Yeah. So Pascal, tonight, that's what we need you to do.
Come on, Pascal, big header.
Get it in the net. Come on.
Let me give you man of the match. Let me do it.
Yeah. We've seen Parag Marathi has been speaking at some conference and talking about why the 49ers picked Leeds United to invest in, quoted as saying, we looked at 86 clubs across Europe over an 18 to 24-month period. This one was so obviously had the chance to be the brightest star in the sky, and it was Leeds United. Compared Leeds to the San Francisco 49ers as well as a kind of sporting entity. Former past glories, fallen on hard times and all that kind of stuff. And obviously Parag, I mean, look, he speaks very well and everything like that. Who knows what the intentions are or where this is going to go 3, 4, 5 years down the line. But I think he's right. I mean, one of the biggest one-club cities. If anyone, I think, could slowly climb the Premier League if things fall into place for us, you would think it's Leeds. Obviously, stadium expansion. It's just if we could just have, stay up this season, stay up next season, and just build and build and build. I would love to be in that position, Jay, where you don't even have to worry about relegation, where you just like. You know what I mean? You're so comfortable. Yeah. I would just love for us to get to that place.
Well, you can start building then, can't you? And you can start campaigning towards European pushes or cup wins. And that is what we all kind of dream of. But the reality is, mate, like if Brentford can, breach the gap to the top 10, Forrest, we're near close to qualifying for Champions League, got European football, Palace winning an FA Cup, Brighton have flirted with it. I mean, it ain't that long ago that Burnley breached into European spots. Wolves have done it. If all of these teams can do it, we can do it. I know Newcastle are now a juggernaut. Villa have got a good backing, but them two have both been in the Championship as well fairly recently and both breached into European, contentions again. Yes, the gap's big, but we are a big club. We're not trying to breach it from the position of Burnley. or Sheffield United or Ipswich or even Southampton. You know, I mean, the teams that come up this season, it looks like it's, you know, Coventry have had a bit of a wobble recently, but Coventry, Middlesbrough, Preston, Millwall, Championship, man. But some of these teams, they stand no chance. They stand literally no chance because they're just like Luton. You know, they've not got the facilities, they've not got the players, they've not got the backing, the support base, the worldwide kind of mass, the PSR limits. They really stand no chance. But they never did. Let's be honest, they never did. Teams like them have come and gone before. Bradford City, Oldham, Swindon, you know, and you look through the leagues, that there's countless teams that have gone up and then they've found that Huddersfield's another one. Barnsley, yeah. It's no disrespect to any of these clubs. It's just not sustainable that you'll be able to get results that keep you up and then allow you to progress. But Leeds do have the infrastructure to be able to bridge that gap, like Newcastle, Villa, and some of these other teams. And like I say, I've thrown some teams in there that are nowhere near as big as us. Brentford, Brighton, you get it right off the pitch, and you can create whatever you want on the pitch. Brentford and Keith Andrews deserve so much credit this season. We all said that they would be amongst the bottom three, and I still don't think they're great when I watch them. But they have kind of found a system, and he's rediscovered them, and the capabilities them in their recruitment is just perfect. You know, they had I forget who was before Ollie Watkins. But they had a basically like a rotation of strikers. They had Ivan Toney, Neil Maupay did it really well in Championship. Ollie Watkins came in and did it really well. Then they had Mbeumo and Visser, who then did their thing. They've both gone, and then they've brought in Igor. Igor came in last season and got injured, and then this season he's just smashed it. And it's like every season they just get it right. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Just a quick point on that. Does that not reflect poorly on Thomas Frank, but does it point to the fact that maybe Brighton as a club and that recruitment model, that's where the power of that club is, rather than per se the manager? So that, you know, the manager kind of, obviously Frank did a great job and everything there, but he doesn't. I mean, Tottenham are a mess off the club. Yeah. He's gone. The recruitment's all over the place. You know, they've got all sorts of problems, whereas Brentford is so stable. I mean, like you say, none of us would have predicted Keith Andrews to do this, but I just wonder if it's, I don't want to take anything away from him, but less about the manager, but just that structure of that club and how they recruit is so strong and effective that, you know, you can kind of get a head coach in there, and if he's competent, will do well.
It's a really interesting point. It's a really, really interesting point, because the manager is only the figure out there. You know, how many managers have we heard from history where it's the background that do all the work? You know, Martin O'Neill, you got all the praise for that Aston Villa team. Yet if you actually speak to some of the players you've seen in interviews that have come years after, it was the coaching team and the infrastructure of the club and the recruitment and all the rest of it that actually makes that. The manager really is more of a people manager. Yeah, kind of trying to like G them up and, you know, get them into a right headspace to play football at the weekend to the maximum capability. You know, Steven Gerrard at Villa is another good example where, by all accounts, and at Rangers didn't do very much. It was the background staff that did most of that. Gary Mack and some
rah in it. They're just there for the come on lads, rah.
Yeah, so it's a really, really interesting point. I mean, you know, we've seen Thomas Frank achieve what he's achieved over Championship and Premier League, but they've never done as well as this. And so, if anything, he's been holding them back. Who knows?
I mean, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a crazy one, real crazy one to kind of dissect. But it goes back to the question: if you have everything right off the pitch, and Marcelo was really great at this. He had the club all operating and pulling in one direction. We know that didn't come from the ownership; it came from him and the way that he set everything out. If you can get that all in a line, you can create some real special moments and special seasons. But you have to have it all working. And we fell down, Leeds, under Marcelo, when the club didn't back him in the right way. That, you know what I mean? So it has to work together.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible because it was like one man leading the whole, brigade. What did you think of, you go for it. I want to pop this out to the chat as well, but Sheffield United had a very, very interesting transfer window. Obviously, Calvin Phillips has got a club at last. He's going to be playing football again. Jay, what did you think seeing Calvin Phillips rock up at Sheffield United? It's hilarious watching the video, by the way, because it's like, what's your favourite football moment? It was like someone said, you mentioned Leeds United and we're going to terminate this loan. It felt very much like that.
It was very clear.
Yeah, it was so obvious. But look, I'm a big fan of KP. I absolutely love Calvin Phillips at Leeds, and I've been rooting for him ever since. I hope it goes really, really well for him, and it'll be good to see him back playing. But my God, I mean, what was it, 2021 playing in the Euros final for England, and now he's back in the Championship with Sheffield United and lining up with Patrick Bamford. I mean, and he's only 30. He's not 35 or something like that. I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it, really, Jay? I mean, you just can't believe how it's kind of worked out for him, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very clear that he was asked not to mention Leeds in the interview. I thought that as soon as I was listening to it. I think it's really sad. I think it's really, really sad. Obviously, the loans at Ipswich and West Ham didn't work out, and that's then kind of probably put any bottom-end Premier League clubs off him, because I still think he probably commands enough respect to go to a Burnley or a Wolves or a Leeds or, one of them that are in and amongst there. I do think that there was probably discussions with Leeds. I can't lie. I think that there probably was, because I don't reckon Sheffield United are covering next to anything of his wage. I reckon it'll be 10, 15, 20%. But I think the conversation with Leeds would be, look, you'll make a part of the bench, but you're not going to play very much. And that is the reality. He's going to be so far off of game speed of Premier League football that he wouldn't be competitive against Ethan Ampadu, as an example. He just wouldn't. He's started 6 games in 3 years for Manchester City or something daft.
Wow.
He obviously started. Yeah, well, he started 6 games over the whole time with Man City. So whenever he left Leeds, that's it. He's obviously come off the bench and whatnot.
That's crazy, isn't it?
6 starts. That's it. Over all competitions as well, Browney. Champions League, domestic cups, Premier League, 6 games. Started games at West Ham, started games at Ipswich, but struggled to displace Sam Morsey last season, who's crap. Just to be dead straight. I think a loan back to the Championship at this stage gives him some sort of opportunity to rebuild. I think staying in Yorkshire is probably real beneficial for him. He could probably move back home, even if he moved to Manchester. I'm not sure. I think the Sheffield United fans will get behind him, even though he's a Leeds lad. I think they'll like him.
Yeah.
I think Wilder's probably a good manager for him at this stage. He'll give him a boost of confidence. He should be able to start every game and get a real flow to games. He's got players around him that he knows and likes. Wilder, I don't know if you saw the Wilder interview, but Wilder made a mention that Agent Bamford had something to do with it. Did you see that?
No, I didn't actually. Wow.
Chris Wilder said he'd spoken to the player at the beginning of the window, so Calvin at the beginning of the window, and then through Agent Pat is what he called him, Agent Pat. We got him in Calvin's ear, and that's kind of how the deals then come about. And it took to the end of the window. I think it took to the end of the window because Calvin was hoping that he'd probably get a bigger move. That's the reality. But I think it's a good move for him to kind of cut long story short. He's got Jamie Shack around him, Pat's there. He's got Leo Hjelde, who will know well. There's somebody else there as well. Joe Rothwell. I know he didn't play with Calvin, but it's still connections. They've all got that kind of Leeds feel. It's weird, like bringing the gang back together kind of thing before Chris Wilder gets on phone to Gianni Alioski and Liam Cooper.
Clicking. Where's Click? Get Clicky down there.
So, but you know what? Kind of conclude, it just gives you a stark reminder of where them players were at before Marcelo, because there isn't, other than Rafinha, obviously, who we know he's just elite, very top, one of the best players in the world. They have all gone back.
Yeah.
Not one of them has gone on to something more. Or am I wrong? Like, you tell me. I don't think.
No. There's nobody.
Aileen Cooper, Alioski, Berardi's retired, Melier, Click,
Rodrigo.
Rodrigo went over to Qatar. Calvin, Calvin went on to City, but you can't say that his career's progressed after Marcelo. It hasn't. Jack Harrison, Helder Costa basically retired at 27.
Yeah. He didn't want to just
played football after Marcelo. Yeah, it's crazy.
It is a stark reminder of the power of a genius coach and what he managed to get from an unlikely bunch of players. Yeah, incredible. Casting his eye over some of the other fixtures this weekend, West Ham away at Burnley tomorrow. I mean, if Burnley perform anything like they did against Sunderland, it's going to be an easy day for West Ham. But it's away against Burnley, and I think Burnley will have a point to prove. I think they need to show something in that game after the performance the other night. But I think if West Ham play to potential, I mean, what I'd give for Bowen and Somerville on our wings, I mean, oh my God, I think we'd be, we'd have so many points on the table. Tricky one. I mean, it'd be great if West Ham drop points there. If Burnley could get a draw from that one, Jay, just be.
Did you ever beat West Ham? West Ham.
I don't know actually. It might have been one of them. It might have been one of them.
Pretty sure Burnley beat West Ham at their place. Or did they beat them on the back of the? That might have been when they won back-to-back games against Burnley and Newcastle. Actually, I can't remember. They definitely went in front in that game, did Burnley? Because I remember watching it, but I can't remember. Did West Ham score late on? Anyway, whatever. They're capable of winning that game, and yeah, it'd be a massive result for us and Forrest if Burnley can win that game, because Burnley are not going to pick up enough points. But from their point of view, this is almost getting to last chance saloon. We talk about must-win games. This is a must-win game for Burnley. This is a must-win game for Burnley. They stand next to no chance staying up anyway, but if they've got any opportunity, they have to win this game. 2 points behind West Ham then, with 13 to go, whatever. There's a chance of a miracle. If they lose that game, they're screwed. They're absolutely done. So hopefully Burnley can turn up and do a job. I take a point out of that already to keep the gap to 5, which is basically 6 with points, with a goal difference, and hopefully we can do the job.
Yeah, God, can you imagine walking away from this weekend 8 points again? I loved it when we had 8 points. 8 points felt just ginormous. I loved 8 points.
Tonight puts a lot of pressure on West Ham, because if there's it's a funny one, because I think if there's a Leeds win, I think it puts a lot of pressure on them, lot of pressure, because we've got 3 really tough away, 2 tough away games, but 3 tough fixtures in a row, and 2 away, and then Man City at home, which we could plausibly pick up no points in.
Yeah,
they could be in front of us after them 3 games if they win this one, regardless of what we do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, tonight. So it's a massive game, because if we lose tonight, they know we're within touching distance over the next 3. If we win tonight, it don't matter if we lost all 3, we'd still be in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless, and they're not going to win all 3, but regardless of even if they did, so it puts a whole host of pressure on them. Whereas I think if Forrest win, I think that West Ham will be targeting us more than them. It's just the way that I see it.
Yeah, agree. Elsewhere, as Skip said, Palace definitely in a relegation battle. They've got Brighton, their big rivals, away on Sunday. Both bizarre rivalry.
I don't get it, but
I don't either. But yeah, so that'll be a tough game. Hopefully, Brighton can put one on them, keep Palace down there and scrapping as well. Final thoughts then before we switch off. I do want to let everybody know as well, myself and Jay, we will be back on post-match tonight to give our instant match reaction to Leeds United versus Forrest as well. So please do tune in for that. But final thoughts before we go then, Jay. A massive game, and we just hope the boys get it done.
Yeah, I'm going to predict 2-0 tonight. 2-0. Keep a clean sheet. Get the job done. It's as much in trying to make it a thing as it is belief. I want to kind of will it into the ether. I think whoever put the comment earlier about seeing it being a tight game and neither team wanting to lose, I think that could definitely be a reality as well. I think it will be tight. I said to you, I think earlier I said in the group, the draw would be the smart bet with this, because both teams are going to be really fearful of dropping points in this.
Yeah,
it'll be tight, especially if one team goes in front and then there's an equaliser. I think there'll be kind of kind of moment. But I hope we set about it really early. Think to the West Ham at home game where we really, really took them to the sword early, got a couple of early goals, and then we can build on the game from there. That is what I would love to see. But yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0. I think we will get this one over the line tonight. I think they'll know the severity of it. But it's a must not lose for me. It's not a must win, but it's a must not lose. If we can draw this game, 7 points clear, with West Ham going into that game away at Burnley tomorrow, I'd be all right with that. I'd be okay. I don't want that, but I'd be all right with that, which is like a must not win.
Yes, I think that's right. I think it's must not lose rather than must win. I think it keeps Forrest pegged back as well if we draw with them as well.
What do you think?
Do you know, I've gone back and forth on this one because normally you have your kind of gut instinct for which it can be massively wrong. I got the Arsenal one completely wrong. I thought we were going to do one of our kind of, not say we're going to win, but I thought it would be maybe a tighter scoreline. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. With this one, I'm struggling to kind of catch the vibe. I would have been a lot happier, I think, if Stack would have been fit. But Bijol's coming back apparently, so fingers crossed he starts. I think he makes a big difference. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go for one of those, games under the floodlights, night game at Elland Road, great atmosphere, get it done, go into the weekend feeling positive, and all the pressure on West Ham, and hopefully we come outside the other weekend because we've got then a massive game Tuesday against Chelsea, which we've not even touched on. We can touch on that tonight, I guess. And we'll wait and see. So come on, let's have it 2-0, please. I'd love that. Like you say, a repeat of the West Ham one at home would be
be nice, wouldn't it? It just takes the pressure off these next three as well. Because I don't expect us to lose all three. I don't, because I believe in the side. But I think 1 or 2 points would probably be really, really, really good out of them next three. So if we can take 3 here, it just takes that pressure off of desperately needing a win out of that one of them 3.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Tommy, what are you doing since you don't beat Forest? Sorry, lads.
Well, if you're a Forest fan, it don't mean anything because you would say that. So
yeah, good stuff. Right, me and Jay, we will be back later tonight, sometime after 10 o'clock, to give our post-match reaction to the game. So please do tune in for that. If you've watched along, you've not liked the video already, please do. If you're watching later as well, get your comments in and subscribe to the channel. Well, Jay, I will see you in about 10 hours or something like that. And we'll see if we're still smiling then, eh?
Yeah. We will, mate. We'll see you then.
Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll see you later tonight. Take care. Bye-bye.